My sister-in-law's plan to expose me backfired in the most unexpected way, destroying her own marriage instead. I met my husband, Ryan, in our late 20s, and we quickly fell in love. After dating for 2 years, we tied the knot and built a peaceful, happy life together. Our bond was strong, rooted in trust and shared dreams. The happiest moment of our lives came when we welcomed our son, Ethan, who is now 5 years old. His laughter and endless energy filled our home with warmth, making us feel like the perfect little family. I truly believed that nothing could shake our happiness. That belief lasted until Olivia, my sister-in-law, decided to stir up trouble. From the moment we met, Olivia and I never really got along. There was always an unspoken tension between us. I tried to keep things cordial, but she seemed determined to find faults. She even accused me of trying to upstage her at her wedding by wearing an ivory dress, something she herself had chosen for all the bridesmaids. But on her big day, she made a scene, throwing a tantrum and making it seem like I had tried to steal the spotlight. From then on, our interactions were filled with subtle digs, sarcastic remarks, and passive-aggressive comments. If I wore something new, she'd smirk and say, "Oh, I remember seeing that on clearance last season." If Ethan achieved something, she'd immediately compare him to her own son, Lucas, making it sound like Ethan's accomplishments weren't impressive. It was exhausting, but Ryan and I always chose to take the high road. We wanted to avoid family drama and, most importantly, ensure that Ethan and Lucas could grow up as close cousins. However, everything took a dark turn this Christmas when Olivia made her boldest move yet. She gave Ethan a DNA testing kit, one of those popular ancestry kits people use to explore their heritage. At first, I didn't think much of it. Ethan has always been fascinated by science, and he loves learning about his roots. But something about Olivia's smug smile when she handed over the gift didn't sit right with me. Later that evening, Ryan pulled me aside, looking uneasy. He said Olivia had made cryptic comments about finally getting answers and how the truth always comes out. A chill ran down my spine. I immediately understood her intent. Ethan has green eyes, while both Ryan and I have brown ones. Of course, anyone with basic genetics knowledge knows that recessive traits can skip generations, but Olivia had been subtly implying for years that Ethan might not be Ryan's biological son. This so-called gift was her way of planting doubt in my husband's mind. I was furious. How could she use a child's innocent curiosity as a weapon to create chaos? But Ryan and I refused to let her win. We knew the truth. Our marriage was built on love and trust, and we weren't going to let Olivia's toxic games shake our foundation. If Ethan wanted to take the test, we had no reason to stop him. We were confident in the results, so we helped him with the process, and he eagerly sent off the kit, excited to learn more about his ancestry. Meanwhile, Olivia's son, Lucas, had been watching everything unfold. At 14, he was naturally curious and decided to take a DNA test too. Olivia's husband, Mark, thought it would be a fun family activity, so he ordered a kit for himself as well. That's when everything spiraled out of control. A few weeks later, Ethan's results arrived, and just as expected, Ryan was confirmed to be his biological father. Olivia's plan had failed. But then, the real shock came. Lucas' results showed that Mark was not father. The truth hit like a wrecking ball. Olivia had an affair over a decade ago, and Lucas wasn't Mark's child. The revelation devastated him. He had raised Lucas as his own, never suspecting that Olivia had been unfaithful. To make matters worse, Mark decided to test their younger daughter, who was 7. His worst fears were confirmed. He wasn't her biological father either. Olivia's perfect life, the carefully crafted image she had tried so hard to maintain, crumbled before her eyes. And it wasn't just a private disaster. The entire family knew. Mark wasted no time. Within days, he filed for divorce and moved out. The irony was impossible to ignore. The very woman who had tried to tear apart my family now stood in the ruins of her own. Olivia's attempt to tear apart my marriage had only ended up exposing her own secrets. But in the aftermath, the ones who suffered the most weren't her or Mark. It was the children. Lucas was hit the hardest. He went from a carefree, happy teenager to a confused and heartbroken young man. The man he had called Dad his entire life wasn't actually his father, and now his family was falling apart. Ethan, too, was affected. He and Lucas had always been close, and seeing his cousin go through such emotional turmoil made him both sad and scared. He started asking questions. Why wasn't Uncle Mark around anymore? Would the same thing happen to our family? Watching my 5-year-old struggle to understand such painful realities broke my heart. apart. Meanwhile, Olivia's world continued to spiral out of control. Mark pushed for full custody of the children, determined to limit Olivia's influence over their lives. The woman who once prided herself on being the glue that held the family together now looked like a shadow of her former self. At family gatherings, she was visibly shaken, pale, exhausted, and on the verge of tears. The same woman who had once thrived on making my life miserable now looked utterly defeated. Then, something happened that I never expected. Olivia called me. Her voice was unsteady and filled with tears as she pleaded for my help. She wanted me to talk to Mark, to convince him to ease up on the custody agreement. She was desperate to salvage what little she had left of her relationship with her children. And somehow, after everything she had done to me, she turned to me for help. At first, I was stunned. After all the lies, manipulation, and backstabbing, she had the audacity to ask me for a favor. I ignored her calls at first, unwilling to even entertain the thought of helping her. But as the days passed, I couldn't stop thinking about Lucas. None of this was his fault, yet he was the one paying the highest price. And then there was Ethan, who kept asking why his cousin's world had been turned upside down. I felt torn. Should I let my anger toward Olivia dictate my actions, or should I focus on what was best for the children? Ryan, of course, wanted nothing to do with it. He told me Olivia had made her choices, and now she had to live with the consequences. But I couldn't shake the feeling that maybe, just maybe, I could help ease the situation for the kids. They didn't deserve to suffer for their mother's mistakes. And so, I found myself at a crossroads. Do I help Olivia for the sake of the children, or do I step back and let her face the consequences of her actions? What would you do if you were in my position? Update 1. Hi everyone. I just wanted to say thank you for all the support. I never expected such an overwhelming response, and reading through your comments has helped me process this mess. It's been an emotional roller coaster, but knowing that there are people out there who understand and care means a lot. I wanted to update you on what's happened since my last post. Olivia hasn't let up. If anything, she's become even more persistent. I had hoped she would back off, but instead, she has been relentless. On one particularly bad day, she called me 3 times in a row, leaving long, tearful voicemails. I could hear the desperation in her voice, but after everything she's done, it's hard to feel sorry for her. Eventually, Ryan had enough. He's usually the calm and level-headed one, but even he reached his breaking point. He grabbed his phone and called Olivia himself. I could hear the frustration in his voice from across the room. He told her in no uncertain terms that he was done with her manipulation. He laid everything out. This wasn't just about the DNA test. It was about years of snide comments, petty games, and blatant disrespect. Olivia didn't take it well. She broke down on the phone, sobbing and accusing me of poisoning Ryan against her. She claimed I was the reason he was pulling away from his family. And for a brief moment, I felt a twinge of sympathy. But mostly, I was exhausted. After that call, things got even worse. Olivia's behavior became erratic. One moment, she was pleading for my help, begging me to talk to Mark. The next, she was accusing me of being jealous of her and trying to ruin her marriage. It was like she couldn't decide whether I was her last hope or her biggest enemy. Dealing with her constant emotional swings has been draining. I feel like I'm stuck on a roller coaster I never wanted to ride. But through it all, my focus has remained on the children. They are the real victims here. I can't stop thinking about Lucas and Ethan. Lucas, who had his entire identity shaken in an instant, and Ethan, who's just a little boy trying to understand why his cousin's world has fallen apart. I don't know what my next step should be, but I do know this. No matter what happens with Olivia, I won't let her mistakes hurt the kids any more than they already have. It's heartbreaking to watch Lucas struggle through this, knowing there's little I can do to help. Ethan, on the other hand, doesn't fully understand what's happening, but he senses that something is wrong. A few days ago, we attended a family gathering, and Ethan eagerly ran over to play with Lucas, just like they always had. They used to be inseparable, more like brothers than cousins. But as soon as Lucas arrived, I noticed an immediate change in him. He was distant, quiet, and barely engaged with Ethan. The usual laughter between them was gone. My heart ached watching the boys, once so close, now drifting apart. Ethan kept asking why Lucas wasn't playing like before, why he seemed sad all the time. I couldn't bring myself to tell him the truth. Instead, I made excuses, saying Lucas was tired or had a lot on his mind. But deep down, I knew it was so much more than that. Meanwhile, Olivia has been bombarding me with long, dramatic texts. Just yesterday, she sent me a message claiming she felt betrayed by our family. I wanted to scream, betrayed. She was the one who made these choices. choices, who caused all of this chaos. Yet she refuses to take any responsibility. In her mind, it's always someone else's fault. Mine, Ryan's, Mark's, never hers. Ryan and I have had countless late-night talks, trying to figure out the best way to handle this situation. We both want to do what's right for the kids, but at this point, we don't even know what that is anymore. Ryan thinks we should step in and try to help Lucas, especially since he and Ethan have always been so close. But he's also wary of getting too involved in Olivia's mess, knowing how easily she could pull us deeper into her drama. We've been trying to strike a balance, supporting the children while protecting our own peace, but it's proving harder than we ever expected. To complicate things further, Mark has started reaching out to Ryan. He's trying to make sense of everything, and he wants to talk. After much hesitation, Ryan finally agreed to meet him for coffee. When he came home, I could tell something had shifted in him. Mark is completely devastated. He told Ryan that his entire life feels like a lie and that he has no idea how to move forward, especially when it comes to co-parenting with Olivia after everything she's done. Hearing Mark's side of the story only made Ryan feel more conflicted. Mark isn't a bad guy. He's just a man trying to do right by his children while navigating the nightmare he's been thrown into. And now, knowing just how much pain Mark is in, Ryan is even more torn about what to do next. He wants to help, but we both know that stepping in too far could pull us into Olivia's chaotic world in ways we might not be able to escape. I don't know what the right thing to do is. Every time I see Lucas, I want to help him. He's just a kid caught up in a disaster he never asked for. And Ethan, he keeps asking why his cousin looks so sad. And it kills me that I can't give him an honest answer. The more I think about it, the more I feel trapped between stepping in and protecting my own family. At the end of the day, all I want is to make sure the children are okay. Lucas and Ethan deserve better than to be collateral damage in their parents' mistakes. I don't know what happens next, but I hope we can find a way to move forward without making things even worse. I'll update you when I can, and as always, thank you for your support. Update 2. Hey everyone, a lot has happened in the last few days, so buckle up. This situation just keeps getting more complicated, and honestly, I don't know how much longer it can drag on, but here's where things stand now. First, Olivia decided to go through with an official medical paternity test. She wasn't satisfied with the at-home DNA results, insisting they weren't reliable enough for such a life-altering revelation. And to be fair, at-home tests do have a margin of error. I think she was clinging to whatever sliver of hope she had left. But guess what? The results didn't change. The medical paternity test confirmed exactly what the first one did. Mark is not the father of Lucas or his younger sister. Olivia only managed to dig herself into an even deeper hole. I wasn't surprised, but seeing the results confirmed in black and white left no room for doubt. Mark had been bracing himself for the worst, but when the truth was officially confirmed, I could see that it still shattered him. He told Ryan that, deep down, he already knew. But there was always that tiny part of him that had hoped the test had been wrong. Seeing the final results felt like the last nail in the coffin. After getting the results, Mark withdrew even more. I knew he was struggling, but I wasn't prepared for what came next. Apparently, after seeing the truth in writing, Mark did some digging. He started going back through old memories, questioning everything. And then, he found something. Mark told Ryan that he tracked down the man he now believes is Lucas and his sister's biological father. According to him, this man is someone Olivia used to work with, someone Mark had long suspected she was too close to. He had his doubts about their relationship for years, but he never had any solid proof. Now, he's convinced. I don't know what's going to happen next, but I can't shake this sinking feeling that this situation is far from over. For years, Olivia brushed off Mark's concerns as work-related issues. But now, Mark knew the truth. He started piecing everything together. How Olivia and this man had always been unusually close. How they attended work functions together. How they exchanged late-night messages. She always had an excuse, always reassured Mark that nothing was going on. But now, all those suspicions had been confirmed. Mark couldn't let it go. He was hurt, angry, and desperate for answers. So, without telling anyone, he tracked the man down to his home and confronted him. It escalated quickly. The man denied everything at first, but emotions ran high, and soon, it turned into a full-blown shouting match. Then, before anyone knew it, things got physical. Neighbors heard the commotion and called the police. By the time officers arrived, both Mark and the other man had been beaten badly. Mark was arrested for assault, and now he's facing legal charges. It's a disaster. Ryan had to go down to the police station to help bail him out. Mark insists the fight was provoked, but proving that in court won't be easy. This whole situation is spiraling out of control, and I can't help but wonder if it's all because Olivia chose to hide the truth for so long. Mark is unraveling, and it's devastating to see someone who was once so steady fall apart like this. Meanwhile, Olivia is in full-on damage control mode, but it's far too late. Mark has now filed for full custody of the kids, citing her affair, the paternity results, and the fight as proof that she is an unfit mother. Olivia is in a complete panic. She's trying to spin the narrative, painting Mark as the villain. She's calling him unstable, claiming the fight proves he's a danger to the children. She's terrified of losing them, and she's lashing out at anyone who doesn't take her side. The tension between them is growing by the day. Mark is furious at Olivia for her years of deception, while Olivia is desperate to maintain control over a life that's crumbling around her. I can see the toll it's taking on both of them, but more than anything, I worry about Lucas and his sister. Mark has started talking about leaving the state with the kids, convinced that they need a fresh start away from all of this. I understand why he feels that way. He just wants to protect them, but I'm not sure if uprooting them from everything they know is truly the right move. And legally, it's going to be a difficult battle. Olivia, as expected, is in full meltdown mode. She's been calling and texting me constantly, alternating between pleading for my support and accusing me of turning Ryan against her. One moment, she's begging for help, claiming she's the victim in all of this. The next, she's raging, insisting that Ryan and I are conspiring against her. And as much as I hate to admit it, I do feel a shred of sympathy for her. Watching someone self-destruct like this is difficult, but at the same time, I can't ignore the fact that she brought this on herself. When I last saw her, she looked completely wrecked, like she hadn't slept in days. Her eyes were red and puffy, and she kept repeating how everything was falling apart, how Mark was trying to take her kids away. But she refuses to see that her own actions led to this. She still believes she's the victim, which makes it nearly impossible to reason with her. She's desperate to shift the blame onto Mark, but anyone paying attention knows this situation is far more complicated than she's making it out to be. At this point, I don't think we have a choice but to get involved. Whether we want to or not, we're already knee-deep in this mess. Ryan believes we should support Mark in his legal battle, especially since he appears to be the more stable parent in all of this. But I worry about what this is doing to the children. They're stuck in the middle of a war they never asked to be a part of, and I'm scared they'll be the ones who suffer the most. Lucas, especially, seems to be struggling. He's always been a sensitive kid, but I've noticed a shift in him since all of this started. He's quieter, more withdrawn, and clearly confused about what's happening. I can't even begin to imagine what it must feel like to learn that the man you've called dad your whole life isn't actually your biological father. Ethan keeps asking me why Lucas doesn't want to play as much anymore, and every time it breaks my heart. I don't know how to explain it to him in a way that he'll understand. This situation is spiraling out of control, and I have no idea where it will end. Every time I think we've hit rock bottom, something else happens that drags us all even deeper into this nightmare. For now, we're just taking it one day at a time, hoping for the best, but it's hard to stay hopeful when the future looks this uncertain. I'll keep you all updated as things progress, but for now, we're just holding on and hoping for a resolution that won't completely tear these kids' lives apart. Final update. Hey everyone, it's time for the final update. A lot has happened since my last post, and I finally feel like things are beginning to settle. We're not completely out of the woods yet, but after the emotional roller coaster we've been on, it seems like the worst is behind us. I've been reflecting on everything, and I wanted to share how things have played out. First, let's talk about Mark and the man Olivia had an affair with. You all know that Mark was arrested after their confrontation turned violent, but what I didn't mention before is that things took an unexpected turn. Initially, we thought Mark would be facing serious legal trouble, but in a surprising twist, the other man decided not to press charges. Mark told us that this man wants nothing to do with the situation anymore. He likely realized that being involved in this mess would only make things worse for him, both personally and professionally. He admitted to the affair when questioned by the police, but has since cut ties with both Mark and Olivia. In a way, that chapter of the story is over, and honestly, I think that's for the best. Mark doesn't need to keep fighting with someone who clearly had no regard for the damage he caused. Now, the issue of the kids has been the most emotionally exhausting part of all of this. Mark initially sought full custody of Lucas and his sister, which sent Olivia into a panic. But after several tough conversations with his lawyer and a lot of soul-searching, Mark had a realization. Regardless of what the DNA test said, Lucas and his sister were still his children. He had raised them, loved them, and been their father in every way that mattered. A DNA test couldn't erase that. Mark told Ryan and me that he isn't fighting for custody out of anger anymore. He's doing it because he wants to protect the kids from the chaos Olivia created. He wants to give them stability and shield them from the consequences of her actions. Through it all, Mark has been incredible. His love for those kids is undeniable, and he's making sure they know that no matter what happens between him and Olivia, he will always be their father. Mark handled the conversation with the kids in the best way possible. He sat them down and explained the situation in an age-appropriate way, giving them enough information to understand the changes without overwhelming them. He made sure they knew they had done nothing wrong, that none of this was their fault. Lucas, in particular, has been struggling to process everything. I think Mark's reassurance that he's still his dad no matter what helped ease some of his confusion and pain. Lucas is still hurting, but he's not as lost as he was before. Meanwhile, Olivia has been a complete wreck. She's still in full panic mode, desperate to hold on to her relationship with the kids, but she's going about it the wrong way. Instead of focusing on their emotional needs, she's more concerned with how she looks to the outside world. She's been scrambling to repair her image and clean up the mess she created, but she's missing the most important part. Her children need her to show up for them, not for her reputation. While Olivia obsesses over appearances, Mark has been stepping up in every way. He's been attending their school events, taking them to doctor's appointments, and making sure they feel safe and loved. It's heartbreaking to watch, but Olivia seems more focused on how she's being perceived than on what's actually happening within her own family. The custody battle is still ongoing, but Mark has changed his approach. Instead of pushing for full custody, he's now fighting for primary custody with shared parenting time, recognizing that, even after everything, Lucas and his sister still need their mother in their lives. He's trying to be the bigger person, understanding that as much as Olivia has hurt them all, the kids shouldn't lose their relationship with her entirely. Still, Mark is firm in his belief that he should have primary custody because he has been the more stable parent. He wants to provide the kids with consistency and a sense of normalcy, something they've been missing for a long time. From what we've heard, the court seems to be siding with Mark. He's proven time and time again that he's the one providing stability for the kids, and his dedication to them is obvious. Unfortunately, Olivia isn't helping her own case. She's still trying to play the victim, pointing to Mark's past outburst as evidence that he's unfit. But anyone who truly understands the situation knows that Mark's reaction came from a place of deep hurt, and he's been doing everything he can to move forward in a healthy way. As for their marriage, it's over. The divorce is in progress, and there's no turning back. Mark has finally made peace with that. He told Ryan and me that he's no longer angry at Olivia, just sad. Sad about what could have been. Sad about how it ended. Sad about the way it has affected the kids. But even though it's painful, he's choosing to focus on the future. His priority now is Lucas and his sister, and he's doing everything he can to give them the love and stability they deserve. This situation has been heartbreaking for everyone involved, but I truly believe that in time, they'll heal. And for the first time in a long time, I feel like we can finally see a path forward. Mark is determined to be the best father he can be. Ryan and I are doing well despite everything that has happened. It's been difficult to watch it all unfold, but we've done our best to be supportive without getting too caught up in the chaos. Nathan and Lucas remain as close as ever, and we've made sure they spend time together to help Lucas cope. I truly believe it's been good for both of them to have that steady friendship, especially when so much else in Lucas' life feels uncertain. If there's one thing I've learned from all of this, it's that kids are incredibly resilient when they are surrounded by love. Through all the turmoil, Mark's love for his children has been the anchor holding them steady. We've all tried to be there for him, but in the end, it's Mark's strength and devotion that will see them through this. Before I end this story, I just want to say thank you. Your kindness, advice, and support have meant more to me than I can put into words. I never thought a DNA test would turn my world upside down like this, but here we are. This journey hasn't been easy, but knowing that there are people out there who care and understand has made all the difference. Hopefully, this will be the last major update. There are still things that need to be settled, but I truly believe the hardest part is behind us. The most important thing is that the kids are still surrounded by love, and that's what matters most. Thank you for following this journey with me. Let's hope the next chapter brings healing and peace. Thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, hit that button and turn on notifications so you never miss more shocking real-life stories like this. See you in the next one.